Today I'm going to talk about the most powerful, most miracle-inducing healing technique that I've ever seen or been a part of or utilized in my own life. So stay tuned and let's get this video started. Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Steve and I help people live their best life. And so today we're going to talk about the ancient Hawaiian spiritual technique entitled HoOponopono. This is a very powerful healing technique. I've seen it restore relationships, restore families. I've seen physical healing. I've seen financial healing, all kinds of areas you can really bring restoration to your life when we understand this technique of HoOponopono. So kind of the background of it, or how I originally became involved, is I heard the story of Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin is a Hawaiian therapist, and over in Hawaii there was a medical facility that was utilized for the criminally insane. Now this place was hardcore severe. These were people that were shackled, they were seduced medically, drugged up so that they would stay under some kind of control. Total violence. These were murderers, these were rapists, these were what we would consider the worst of worst in society. And on top of that, the hospital really couldn't keep any staff because there's always these outbreaks and things like that. And so they'd contacted Dr. Lin and said, hey, could you come and run this medical ward, this psychiatry ward of the hospital? And he said, I'll come, but on one condition. I'm going to do it my way. Don't question what I do or how I do it. And so they said, sure, no problem. And so Dr. Lin goes. Now keep in mind this, that in the history of this hospital, they've never released a single patient. In other words, no one ever got better. They're just being drugged and sedated, excuse me. And so Dr. Lin goes, and immediately he starts seeing a turnaround and starts seeing results utilizing HoOponopono. And within 4 years, they actually shut the entire ward down because every single person had been healed and every single person released from the hospital. There's no longer a need for the hospital. So what did he do? He used the techniques of HoOponopono. And so he would never even view a patient. He would take their file and he would look through their file and begin to really emotionally feel for these people. Maybe the person was a rapist or a murderer, and what would be the emotions that would come up in Dr. Lin? Maybe it was anger, maybe it was fear-based or sadness, whatever it was. And HoOponopono has 4 phrases that you utilize, and I'll get into what these phrases mean a little bit more in just a moment. But the 4 phrases are this. There's kind of the mantra. This is the shorthand mantra. The 4 phrases in HoOponopono are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Say it again. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And so you can say these in any order, and he would just repeat this mantra over and over and over as he went through the different files. And the result of that is that each patient was actually healed. Now, when I heard about this story originally, I thought there's no way, that just seems impossible. And so I went into, did a bunch of research, and it's all legitimate, it's all very, very true. And that inspired me to go on and get certified to work in HoOponopono. Now, here's what these 4 phrases kind of mean, or here's the basis of it. Is one, we have to understand that we're all connected. We're all really one. There's this one consciousness, if you will. And that we all play a part in what's going on in society. And what HoOponopono is about is really about taking extreme ownership. Now, that doesn't mean we're taking fault or blame per se, but we are taking responsibility and ownership. And so the 4 phrases, first of all, I love you. Who am I speaking to? I'm not speaking to the patient or the person that's hurt me or affected me. So let's take an example of a broken relationship. I'm not saying that I love this other particular individual. I'm speaking to my creator, infinite intelligence, source energy. I love you. I'm sorry. Not fix the other person, they're wrong. It doesn't matter who did what. It's I am sorry. In other words, I played a part. I had a role in this, in what's happened. Remember, my reality is really a projection of what's going on in me. You've probably heard it said that what you see in others is a reflection of yourself. And so I have a responsibility in everything taking place. Now, I didn't go out and murder someone on the street, but did some of my thought processes, my thought patterns, how did I play a role in this universal consciousness, if you will? So 1, I love you. 2, I'm sorry. 3, please forgive me. I'm asking forgiveness for me, not for anyone else. I'm cleaning myself. And then, of course, thank you. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for forgiving me. Now, what am I really even asking for forgiveness for? I view it oftentimes as my own mindset, my own thinking pattern, maybe my own doubts and my own fears and the times when I get off course. And understand this about this process of HoOponopono is that you're never done cleaning, right? We'll never get to a point where we're so perfect that we don't need to clean anymore. And so I remember when I was going through the training of this, a friend of mine had given me a call and said, man, Steve, I'm having so much problems with my ex-wife, and I'm trying to see the kids, and it's all these kind of problems and such. And he was really just pointing fingers, of course, at her and all she had done. And so I shared with him this technique, and I said, I don't want you to, think anything bad of her. This isn't about fixing her. I want you to just to focus in on fixing you. And he's like, well, I didn't do anything. Right? Just play with me here. Just kind of trust me and go along. And so I teach him these 4 phrases. And so over the next day, he begins to utilize these 4 phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And he begins to clean himself. And the next day, his ex-wife calls him and says, you know what? I just want you to know I'm completely, totally sorry. I can see that I was really out of line, and everything gets worked out with the kids and all that kind of good stuff. And so it was all about just being focused on me. So then how can you really use HoOponopono to create transformation in your own life? First of all, let's say you've had maybe issues within your family, maybe some relationship issues. I know me personally, and again, this becomes I'll be very, very open, but I had separation with my parents and some things along that line. And so I use HoOponopono to really restore some relationships in that area. I know people that have used this for business success, people that have used HoOponopono to really transform some physical areas, some physical healing and such. And so there's all kinds of ways that you can really utilize HoOponopono. Now, the actual practice in and amongst itself is all we're really doing is we're just inside our own mind. We're just kind of going over that chant. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. It might be if there's a specific individual, maybe it's an ex that's affecting the children, maybe it's, again, whatever it is. Then I'm just kind of imagining that person in my mind. I'm not obviously saying this to them, and I'm not saying clean them. Remember, this is never about them. This is 100% about you. It's 100% about me. It's about being 100% clean on my end. And so I might be imagining, an ex-wife, a mother of my children, let's say, and there's a problem there. And in my own mind, it's just, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm not putting any blame on her. I'm simply taking ownership. That what I'm seeing is a reflection or a projection out of myself. So I'm cleaning that until I become emotionally clean. And then what happens is that energy, that new vibration I'm at, that new frequency I'm in, brings to me a different result, if you will. I use this a lot even when maybe it's not a specific issue. Let's say I'm out on a long walk with my dog. In the back of my mind, it'll always be, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Nothing specific at all. There's times in my meditation when maybe I'm utilizing this technique, meditating daily, and then something might even come up that I wasn't even thinking about. Maybe someone will come to mind, and I'll begin to utilize that technique in that process. Maybe there's nothing that comes up that way, but something comes up as far as divine inspiration. What I've also noticed on some of my walks and hikes when I begin to use this technique, just again in the back of my head walking down the road, that's when I get some of my best insights and thoughts and revelations is when I'm using this. Because what I'm doing is I'm really raising my vibration, and I'm allowing that direct energetic flow from sources, what we call flow energy rather than push energy. It's getting me in a position of flow energy where I'm in connection with source. Now, I'm going to tell you a crazy, crazy, crazy story that happened utilizing HoOponopono. And this is a story I've only told 2 people ever. And here I am going to stick this out here on YouTube. And some of you will think I'm absolutely nuts and crazy. I remember going through, when I got certified for HoOponopono, it all seemed legit. But I heard Dr. Lin once say in the training, he said, that when he was really learning this process, he walked out of the seminar, the training a few times, and because some things are just too crazy. And I remember thinking, like, I don't really get what's all that crazy about it. And so I ended up going on to advanced certification as well. And in the advanced certification, what comes up in the training is Dr. Lin says that he'll sometimes speak to like a car or an airplane or something to that, like an inanimate object. And I remember going, that's really just getting nuts. Like an airplane doesn't speak to you. That's just absolutely bizarre. And so it kind of turned me off of it for a moment. But just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it's not real or true. It's obviously the effects have been proven. Who am I? That kind of a thing. And so I continued on with the training. So I had gone into an Airbnb, and I was staying in an Airbnb for a month. And it was not the greatest, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest Airbnb I've ever been in. And I remember the first day I walked into this Airbnb, I turned the water faucet on had my dog with me, Lucky, and her dog bowl is white. And so when I filled the water up out of this sink, the water was like green. And I thought, man, is there like some algae in the dog bowl? So I cleaned the dog bowl really good and all, put the water back in, and sure enough, the water is green. And so I look in the toilet, and the water has a green tint. Now you couldn't see the green like coming directly out of the faucet, but if you put that water in something that was a solid white, like porcelain toilet, or in a white dog bowl, I could see this tinted green. It really is kind of so. Give the dog some bottled water and go to bed. And each morning for the next week that I would wake up with a really, really sore throat. And it was very, very strange. And first I thought, oh, maybe I'm just getting kind of sick. It was summertime, and the area that I was at is actually a pretty cool area normally. And so none of the houses have air conditioning. And so I'd run a fan all night. And so I thought, well, it must be the fan blowing on me is what's giving me the sore throat. And so I would kind of each night turn the fan a different spot in the room, make sure it's not hitting me directly, all kinds of things to prevent the sore throat. And this goes on for a week. Green water and this sore throat waking up each day. And so one night I'm in bed and I wake up and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm kind of awake, not totally awake, but I'm like, I don't think I can really go back to sleep. And so with the HoOponopono training came some like self-hypnosis type of videos that I had. And so I thought, well, let me do some of this self-hypnosis. I've never had done self-hypnosis before. I'd been with hypnotherapists, but never something on myself. And so I kind of started going through this process, and I get into a very highly meditative state. And I'm laying there in my bed, meditating kind of in this self-hypnotic process. And all of a sudden, and again, you're going to think I'm crazy, but all of a sudden I see kind of this, energetic ball floating through the air, and that energy, that energy was me, kind of like my true nature, my true self, that energy, my own energy. And I don't remember exactly how this kind of came up or how it kind of transpired or came about, but I remember thinking of that with my sore throat, and like, why is my throat always sore when I wake up here in the morning? And I saw a vision, if you will, or kind of like a movie of a man in that room that I was sleeping in, strangling his wife. And this is why sore throat, it's a connection of energy, so to speak. And I then heard or kind of got the consciousness expression of, and I wouldn't say necessarily an audible voice, or is it coming from the house? Is it coming from source energy? Like, again, I'm not trying to define exactly how that all works per se, but I got a kind of a message that, hey, look, about the water being green. Listen, this is almost like the house is being choked out. Like, this is the outcome of the energy that's in this home. And so again, I know that sounds very bizarre and quite crazy. A house is talking to me. And so I began really doing this HoOponopono process. I'm in a very, again, meditative, almost hypnotic type state at this point. And so I started, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Now listen, I didn't strangle I didn't strangle the lady, but again, what part did my thought processes and consciousness somehow play in what takes place and transpires in the world? And so, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I just began this over and over and over again. And as I did that, I kind of woke up and went to sleep, so to speak, and that was that. So the next morning I wake up and I go to get in the shower, use the restroom. I look in the restroom and the water is actually clear. And I go, huh, that's weird, the water's not, green anymore. Flush the toilet and the water comes up very, very clear. Get in the shower and I realize, you know what? This is the first morning I've woken up without a sore throat. And so utilizing this HoOponopono practice really cleansed the entire room, that entire house, that I was actually staying in. So that's the power of this technique. Now I know that sounds far-fetched, it sounds crazy. I completely understand all that. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I'm simply here to share an experience and how HoOponopono can be very, very, very transformative in your life. Now here's what I do know. It does not work by just gathering the information. You actually have to put it into practice. And so what I've done is I've created a separate HoOponopono meditation to accompany this particular video. And I'll tell you what, if you'll just commit to a week. I always think 21 to 30 days is much better. That's how we establish habits. But if you'll just commit for a week to do this meditation, I guarantee you'll see transformation in your life. And so what I would do is I would turn on this meditation. I'd go in pretty open and just see as you go through the meditation what comes up for you. Do certain people come up? Do certain issues in your life come up? And then again, that whole cleansing process that I'll walk you through in the meditation. Now, don't go in there afraid and think the house is going to start talking to me. That's not what this is about at all. I just wanted to share with you how transformative and how just incredible that this process really can be. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found some benefit to it, please like the video. And as always, if you're new, subscribe. And with that, much blessings, much peace. Namaste.